Good evening. This certainly is the day that the Lord has made, and we are rejoicing and being glad in it, and just excited to be able to participate in yet another dynamic conversation really driven by each one of us. So I encourage you to tag and share onto our Facebook page, and also I believe we're on our YouTube as well. But today's class, in order to participate, Facebookers, we're going to ask you to come in because you have to be able to articulate some of the issues. And so we're not going to try to mine. If you want to stay on Facebook and watch, then can you bring your own Facebook monitor to be able to do that? How about that? But if not, we're asking you to be able to come in because we're going to ask some questions. We're going to take a poll, and this poll is going to drive our class as we're facing the state of the nation. So again, tag and share with these words: class is in session. Hey, everybody. Certainly delighted that you thought of not robbery here on this fabulous February 7th, Black History Month, also the day of the State of the Union, where the president gives his remarks on the state of our union. And I kind of want to do a prebuttal instead of a rebuttal. A prebuttal means we go first. A rebuttal means we come after. So I would like to see what we think are some of the concerns that should be addressed, or that are challenges, or should be fixed or remedied, or really what's on our mind. And then I encourage you again to give you an assignment to watch the State of the Union address, and then to see how in tune is our president with you, or with the majority of our viewers. I would like that instead of afterwards, because what I found out is many of us don't know what to think. We need somebody else to tell us what to think, because the news media will spin, but you and I might see stuff right now that the president might say, and we might say yes. Again, oh, I love this. I'm so good. Like they do these focus groups, and you see, and you're like, where the hell did they get those people from? Am I right about it? Come on, y'all. Y'all got to help me if I'm gonna do this, because I'm in a room by myself, so I can be real crazy. But you could be a focus group for us to be able to have a real robust conversation. Our desire for this conversation, remember, this is not current events. This is civics, but we learn civics through current events. So it's always trying to teach what the purpose of the State of Union is, or what some of the other concerns that we are addressing in this particular nation at this time. So I'm gonna ask our chair, if he don't mind, open us up in prayer, and then let some more people get in, and then we're gonna take a poll by whoever's here. So people come late, they might say something, but you come late, you miss out.
Let us look to the Lord in prayer. Most holy and righteous Father, as once again your sons and your daughter come before thee as humble as they know how. Heavenly Father, just to say thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Heavenly Father, that it was your manservant, one Adolphus Clarence Lacey, to bring his members and others to what is going on with them. Heavenly Father, give us the ability to disagree. But Heavenly Father, with all, we're going to look forward to your direction to guide us in the right way. Heavenly Father, touch every home right now in a special way. Cover us with the peace, the love, and the unity. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. letting some more participants come in, be able to come in. We're, again, to drive our conversation. So let me say this as we get more participants in, as we prepare to take a poll on several issues. The State of the Union is given tonight at 9 o'clock by the president, and all the persons come in to be able to see, and special guests. We have a designated survivor because you have so many people that will be there that our government could continue its continuity. And to let you all know, and I love this thing because, you know, these people said they read the Constitution on the floor this morning, you know, feel good. Like we're not really keeping the Constitution. Again, the same Constitution that says that we were 3/5 of a person. So let's be clear, the Constitution has to be modified and continues to have to be interpreted. And the president, at the request of the Speaker of the House, can give a State of the Union address. And up until modern times, they just mailed it in. They just sent a paper report. That's what it is. That's what they did. I forgot what the exact date was, but until modern times, certainly during FDR and probably Woodrow Wilson, if I'm correct, is that when they started coming to the Congress and doing a joint session. But typically, it was just a book report that was just sent in. So that lets us know, because George Washington never gave a State of the Union address, is what I want to say. Abraham Lincoln never gave a State of the Union address. In this current setting, what I'm saying, to allow us to know that our democracy is ever evolving. It's evolving, and that's what we always want to know. We are an evolving democracy, and actually that's what keeps us alive. That's what keeps us growing in this regard. So in this regard, how many people we got in here? So we got 21. I like the number 21. I think only 20 can vote. I don't think hosts can vote. Again, those of you, I didn't tag and share. Let me tag and share. 1 second. Get somebody. Okay, here we are. There we are, Bethany Baptist Church. I'm gonna grab this. Pastor Lacey's gonna share. Class is in session. So I'm gonna give them a few minutes, but they'll come in. But what we're about to do is issue forth some polls for you to participate. Now, I know this might be scary, but something's gonna pop up on your screen. It's not spyware. It's going to pop up on your screen for you to be able to make a selection. And one of the selections that we're going to be able to do is we're going to have 3 different polls. The first poll is going to give us whether we disapprove or approve. That's all you got. Disapprove or approve of Joe Biden, current president of the United States. Whether you believe our country is on the right track or the wrong track. And in the last one, we're going to ask you to select 5 of a category of 10, 5 of a category of 10 that you think are the most pressing issues that need to be addressed. And this is what you get to do. And that's what we're going to be able to talk about. So we're going to give you a chance to vote. We'll slow down and analyze this, and together we can have a conversation about those particular issues. In light of the State of the Union address will take place at 9 o'clock, and we can go forth and watch that. I think, are we ready, y'all? Got 24 in here.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go. Let's put our first poll up.
Sorry, the poll is giving us a little difficulty in bringing it over, so just give us a second.
Give you another second.
Yeah, hold on.
All right, I can wait. So let me just state it again, because our numbers are going up. People are coming in. Welcome, 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 welcome. Again, our desire today is we are going to be a poll-driven conversation. So soon a poll is going to pop up for us to begin to react to determine what we think before the State of the Union address, which happens tonight, by President Joe Biden at 9 o'clock. So instead of doing a rebuttal, which takes place after the fact, we're doing a prebuttal where we're able to see some of the issues before, like what's on I love it at Al Sharpton at National Action Network. They would say, what's on your mind? And that's what we want to be able to see. What are the overall concerns? Because I'm hearing all these people saying maybe Joe Biden shouldn't be elected. Maybe people say Joe Biden's the most successful president in America. My point is, what do you say? Some people say our country's going to hell in a handbasket. Some of them say this is our best years. Question is, what do you say? What are the, and then they're gonna be 10 issues. And we're only asking you to pick 5. Technology does not allow us to limit you to 5. So please don't do that foolish stuff that we always do. Can you tell me 2 things about you? And you're like, well, I mean, I know it's 2, but really it's 3. No, follow the rules. It's Black History Month. We follow the rules during Black History Month, okay? How we doing? Okay, here we are. They will be done all at the same time? Fanta or Lily?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So brothers and sisters, answer all of these questions at the same time. I'll give you 5 minutes to think about these issues, about 4 minutes. How about that? 7:15.
Not launching.
Just one question at a time.
It's not.
So again, we got a few minutes in here. Question 1, President Biden, job approval. Do you approve or disapprove? We'll talk about it. Question number 2, the direction of the country. Do you believe the country's on the right track or the wrong track? Question number 3, just pick 5 of the most pressing issues that you think are important.
We've got a few more folks who are looking to join us in on this poll, so
Okay,
it's moving along nicely.
I just did mine. We give you another 2 minutes. We don't have theme music or nothing like that. We'll work on that next time. So again, take a look at your questions. Once I did my questions, it disappeared. So, I can say it again. So again, those who are in Facebook and watching, and you want to come in and participate in this class and to submit a response, what is your approval rating of Joe Biden, President Biden? Do you approve of where he's going or do you disapprove? Please vote. What do you believe about the direction of our country as a whole? Not just the president. Remember, the president don't do everything. Well, do we think we're going in the right direction or are we going in the wrong direction? And then rank your top concerns, be they climate control, the economy, education, election policies, foreign policy, future of democracy, healthcare, immigration policy, police reform and violent crime, reproductive rights, whatever they are. If you will do that, and that's going to drive our discussion, because once again, we're doing a prebuttal. We're talking about the issues before they will be addressed by our president. And watch this, because what our nation is consumed about is a balloon that floated around. But will any of your comments reflect that based upon the choices? That's what we see. All right, how we doing? How many responses we have yet?
We're at 75%. How's that looking?
75. Come on, y'all. That mean 25. That mean a couple of you all. What are you waiting for? You know how to do that.
You can trust the process.
Make a choice.
I tried mine, but I was coming up with an error message. It wouldn't submit. It wouldn't. The vote didn't submit.
Okay. And Arena said hers is difficult. Are y'all in the chat to see where they are with the challenges? Because for us to get 75%, a clear majority is working for them, but we have some that is not working for.
My answer disappeared the first time and it came back. I had not voted and I voted and it went through the second time.
Okay, went through. So, okay, check this out for you all. Arena and Chris, if you all are having a challenge, can they log out and just log back in?
I went through from the top and I made sure that each one of my answer choices was selected. So there's a radio button next to each one. And I had to make sure that each question was selected first for the approval rating for Joe Biden and the other questions below. Then I was able to go in and check mark off for the 5 that I wanted were the top priorities for me. And then I saw that the submit button was lit blue. And once it was lit up blue, then I could submit my answer choices. But until I went back and checked and double checked.
So yours went. So, but okay, so yours sounded right. Beckwith, you said you're getting an error message?
Yeah, I got an error message. So I just closed it. I was able to answer the first 2, and I answered everything, but then when I hit submit, it said failed to submit.
Because you might need 5. What did you put down? 6?
I put down 5.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, all right. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing.
Yeah, I put 5.
It says 20 people have submitted and 20 participants have submitted an answer. And
Okay.
it's for each one, it says 100% of the people who participated in answering the questions, answered all the questions.
Thank you. So what Lily said, so therefore, based upon there are about 10 more people. Some of our hosts can't participate in it. That's about 3 of them. So about 7 people who are on the call just did not participate in the poll. But for the people that participated in the poll, you showed up as 100. So therefore, we're going to begin to use this information. He said, where is the poll? Because we're about to show it. So Floyd Mitchell just asked, where's the poll? Is it? We didn't take it down yet? Did we put a timer there?
Yeah, I think it just keeps going.
The poll is still running.
So Floyd, you should see it. It should see once I vote, it disappears. So Floyd, you should see that. So everybody that's in there. So I'm gonna wait till I'm gonna look at my clock and do 7:20, and then we're gonna move forward with that. So less than 2 minutes. And we'll go forward. If it's on your screen, if not, if you don't see it, log off. But nonetheless, trust your people, and then we'll see that again. Yes, just check again. It should just show up. It should just pop up because we haven't closed the poll yet. We have not closed the poll, but we are in a minute. It's 7:19. We're closing the poll at 7:20, and then we'll begin to discuss these results. And we're asking those of you who are, again, in Facebook, on YouTube, come in and really participate because we can work our chat and do this. I think we can have a dynamic time today in light of the President's State of the Union address. And we're almost doing a focus group. You know, if the president want to know what he needs to do, he needs to come to our civics class and find out what people think. I'm serious. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to say. We're trying to articulate and to grab the proper information so that might be revealed to all. Okay, we're counting down. All right, it is 7:20. Close the poll and show the results, and we will work from the results. All right, so here is our poll. So somebody make sure we have this because I didn't bring me a pen. But first of all, the President Biden's job approval rating, 86%. 86% approve of the direction that the president is doing. Then we go to the direction of the country, 73%. So we got an 86 to 14, a 73 to 27. And then when we rank our issues, the number one issue is facing us against the people that voted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at it, it shows up 6. It ranks all of them. Even we asked you for 5, but it ranks all of them. The number one issue, listen to this, is police reform and violence. Violent crime, 73%. After that is the economy. After that is the election policies. Healthcare, education, future of democracy, climate change, immigration policy, reproductive rights, immigration policy, foreign policy. Oh, wow. Is that shared? Can that be in the chat so it's still left out there? Is that possible, you all?
Yeah, give me a second to type it up.
Okay, perfect. They're working on it. Oh, look at this. Guys, this is great. I want y'all to see what we just revealed. We about to have a great discussion. But first, Paul, let's deal with this again, 3 rubrics. The first rubric is President Joe Biden. 86% of us believe that he is doing a good job, and 14% believe that he is not. For those of us that are in the 86, what constitutes a good job?
Being effective in getting his agenda passed by the Congress.
Okay.
And being a cheerleader for the country.
Trying to meet the needs of the people.
Okay.
Increasing job opportunities for people who need to earn an income in the country.
Okay, you guys are still abstract. Can y'all drill in just a little bit deeper?
Well, for lack of a better word, I would say providing a voice of sanity at the top.
Okay.
I agree with what Chris said. I think we're providing a low bar based on comparison to the previous president. And
see, I like that real issue there, which is very, very scary. What you and Chris have actually articulated is that the standard was let so low underneath the previous occupant. It's easy. I mean, it's like, really? It's like, I mean, like, you're like, just really. And so, but when you think about this, these are little things, like just being able to put a complete sentence together. And of course he messes up. Hell, I mess up trying to do a sentence. Y'all didn't hear me Sunday. I was trying to talk about Sojourner Truth, and I said Sister Soldier. I make mistakes, so I'm talking about, I get David and Moses because all the stuff is running through your mind. So in that regard, but nonetheless, you ain't that bad. So I love we say that there's a low bar, but in that bar and how he exceeded that bar, what are some of the things that, without trying to go to right check, wrong check, I mean, right track, wrong track, or even the concerns, just generally about some of the things that he has sought to do, that those of us who, because I voted in the affirmative of the 86. And what brought about this question was I was out to dinner with middle class Blacks and white folk. And there was an overwhelming majority said that they weren't going to vote for him. And I'm like, why? And they couldn't articulate why they could not vote for him. And I just found that interesting. Like, so when a narrative gets out that you don't like somebody or that somebody's not good, it's hard to beat that. As they say, she can't sing, and she can, or you don't eat that. Her macaroni and cheese ain't good, or he can't fix a car. And really they can. But if the narrative gets out. So again, a little more of you all who said you really approve about that, because here's the problem. What I want you to know, while there are more people who approve of Joe Biden, they're mostly silent. And when we go to this 14% that disapprove of Joe Biden, I will guarantee you they're going to come with receipts. That's the challenge that you have.
Well, in answer to that, then let's start with the one thing that he's done that I think we can all approve of. Consider that Barack Obama was not able to get his last Supreme Court justice nominee approved by Congress, and Joe Biden got his first one approved. That is an accomplishment, and one of the reasons why I would say I approve of the job he's done, because he has been able to get some of his agenda done. He was able to nominate and get approved his selection for the Supreme Court.
Say more. You tiptoeing. Hit it hard if you're gonna hit it.
He was able to get around all those Republican obstructionists who were
no, not just that, Gary. He was able to put a black woman
on the court.
Okay,
which is
Barack Obama was president for 8 years, and he was able to appoint 2, but he never appointed nor nominated a black woman for the Supreme Court.
Right, that's true. But Joe Biden has done more than Barack Obama did when it comes to increasing diversity, even amongst his cabinet and amongst the appointments that he has had.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Receipts, being able to do that. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. Can I remove the poll now?
Yes. I said it was closed, yes. Did more people vote?
No.
Okay. There's still 86-14. Yeah, it's gone.
Good evening. Can I ask a question, Pastor?
Yes, sir.
All right. When Joe Biden was senator, didn't he support the crime bill? Wasn't he a big advocate of that crime bill?
Absolutely. He was the chair of the Judiciary Committee, but so was 90% of the Black Caucus.
Yes, and Clinton.
And
Clinton was behind it too. Well, not behind it, but Clinton supported it too. Also, very heavy.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and see, that was a reflection of the time, and so, and that's what we can do. And thank you, Brian, for that question, because that question right there cost Hillary Clinton the election, even though she herself didn't even vote on that bill. But her husband supported that bill, and Joe Biden largely wrote that bill, which caused mass incarceration. But let's be clear, we as a community were mostly behind that as well.
Right.
So if Joe got to be in trouble, so do the pastors and the Black Caucus that pushed it as well, because grandma and them were just saying is that I'm tired of these drugs on these streets. I'm tired of these gang people. And we called, and then that's how they came forth to start being arrested in this mass way in that regard. Now, again, we can look at the 13th and look at other stuff to see historically how mass incarceration can go all the way back to the Reconstruction era. But just in the modern area, this really did it, and it had a whole lot of players. The crime bill, Clinton was responsible for the crime bill and the welfare bill. Those were things that he did to be able to get certain things through. And ironically, how the welfare bill was passed, because you don't even know, when you think about mothers getting WIC and all that stuff, that's mostly surplus stuff that the farmers still get paid from. So it's a play when you're seeing this politics that take place. But that's a very, very, very good question. Very good question.
And when the bill was passed, and like you said, a lot of people were frustrated because of the times. Were frustrated with the crime being committed in our communities. But in the long run, a lot of Black men really paid for it, as far as that were really arrested and did jail time.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of Black men.
I'm not denying that. Policies that we have made, again, and what I'm just saying, it's a shared process. When I'm talking about Joseph Biden's approval rating, is what he's doing as president, not what he did as senator. And what he had done as senator, as a majority leader in a judicial committee, he did a lot of shaping of that bill. But again, as I say before, with longevity, almost 90%, 99% of the Black Caucus supported that bill. Most Black elected officials, mayors and governors supported that bill because they believed in it. And it turned out it was a wrong decision. We sought that, and you tried to correct that. But that's you're right. Beckwith.
Okay, yeah. Piggybacking off of what he said, yeah, a lot of Black officials supported that bill. Problem was when you had some of those, on the other side, some of those Republicans, and the 107th mayor of the city of New York being one of them, he basically, just let the police run wild and do these things and just let them, no reins on them. So,
right. And then y'all right. I'm hearing what you all are saying. And now, what is this? The 111th mayor, the 109th mayor?
110th.
110th. He believes in stop, question, and frisk.
Well, that's because he was a cop.
Okay, but that's what I'm just saying, is that this just wasn't a white thing.
Right.
And so in that regard, when you're being able to see the aspects of what took place with policing, with particularly crime in urban areas, and with Ronald Wilson Reagan being able to pimp this aspect of welfare queens, to think that welfare only came to poor Black people, more white people on welfare, period. More white people get what they call it now, SNAP, they get this temporary aid for families in need. I mean, they get that. But the narrative is not so. So you guys are we're talking about the president's approval now, but so you're then saying, if this is true, that your opinion of the president is still shaped by his decision as a senator in the 80s.
No, I wasn't saying that. I just remembered that he did have that little strike against him, but no, I'm not holding that against him as a president. I think he's trying. I think he's not a bad president. He's trying. He's trying. Everything can't go his way. He can't get everything done he promised, but he's trying. He is trying. I'll give him that. I'd vote for him again. I would vote for him again. I just couldn't see a Republican get, because they want to take away.
And
They feel
that's
we're getting too much as it is.
absolutely. And so, but you want to take a look at that to be able to examine when you're looking at this. But again, I like what you all saying, and I said I'll if I know somebody, I'm like, dude, people don't think you the one. They think you shouldn't run. I'm like, I don't know why, but 86% did. So we had 2 comments which kind of went in there. Are there any other than we said positive? What about negative comments about the approval of him as president? One of mine would be, I like him as president, but how we withdrew from Afghanistan, I mean, like, damn, what was that, the Keystone Cops? I mean, when you got people hanging on C-130 airplanes as they're trying to take off, I mean, how couldn't we leave better? Those are the things that get me. So when we're looking at this Ukrainian war, and we're seeing the fight that the Ukrainians have against Russia, and we see how inept Russia is, to me, it looked like America is the same way, because every time we turn around, there's something right here that you like, y'all didn't know that? You mean tell me you didn't see this coming? I mean, you couldn't prepare for this? It's like, I thought we were the greatest military in the world. And now you watching these shows that always see how they come in and take over the government and take over. Olympus has fallen, White House down. You know what? I can see that happening, as incompetent as it seems to have been, even underneath his reign. So I would say that. Deacon Alvarez.
Master, the President Biden follow up on the former President Trump make that mess to get the troop out of Afghanistan, right? Now, if he didn't do anything, the Republican would say he come into office and he ain't do nothing. So he just followed through on what already the former president gave a time frame when he expect the troop to come out of the country. And I cannot blame him for that. I think he did an excellent job on that.
Well, no, I'm not blaming him for that, because we're war fatigued. America is tired of war. The point is how we left the war. That's the point. Again, when you left it, and then you remember how we left it. Like I just said, it was like 2012. It was like all of these apocalyptic movies of aliens coming, or some catastrophic events going to happen, and only those that can get on that got tickets. And you're fighting your way to get on these planes that take off. You know, that's like it could have been done more orderly. One would have thought that it could have been done so to retreat. We got out of Vietnam better than we got out of Afghanistan. Didn't say we lost more lives. I'm saying our exit out of Vietnam was better than Afghanistan from Saigon. Arena.
So something that I feel that President Biden could have improved was having sooner and more broad access to healthcare for people during the pandemic, as well as providing the PPE that people needed and for free or through their health insurance. I know that when I compare and I look at other countries and their response, and I contrast it with ours, I know that in certain Asian countries, through people's healthcare, they were able to get free masks and free gloves and other things that they needed in order to protect them, instead of having the citizens have to come out of their own pockets to pay for the equipment that we needed to stay healthy and safe during the pandemic. So I feel like something like that could have been provided in mass, as well as, you know, emergency Medicaid or Medicare for people who needed it to protect themselves if they didn't have it before.
So you're saying more because some of that did happen. You said it just wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough, and it wasn't as soon as it could have been.
Okay.
He wasn't.
So
He was
broader and
investing when it
faster.
started, right?
So a broader and faster response in terms of the healthcare of the citizens.
Regarding COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Trump was the president then, and I do believe that Biden increased a lot of things. Once he got into office, he increased a lot of the things that Trump had left in distress and not so well. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. No, that's all I'm saying is that's what it's called. It's called a conversation to be able to go. And I would agree with you, Fanta. I actually believe when you're in a relay, the problem with the presidency, when you transfer from a Democratic presidency to a Republican presidency or vice versa, is not like a relay race. So it's not like you're being able to pass in stride to somebody that can actually continue the work. But actually it's almost with a dead stop trying to start again. So when you had the incompetency of the previous regime, he was starting flat-footed in that regard. I would say that, but I still hear that more could have ultimately been done. But it's interesting. And I looked at this poll from Clear Politics and see how we match. On Clear Politics, where is COVID? Shucks, where's my? Of course I would lose it when I need it. But when I got the topics that put forth, I also had coronavirus down there is at the bottom because we ain't even thinking about, I mean, we know COVID is real and it's present, but we're not thinking about it the way we were underneath the Trump years. And even likewise, even when the vaccine came out, because we didn't trust that person, yes, historically, Black people have issues with the medical field, but it was exacerbated by the imbecile in the White House that people just said, no, I ain't taking that. I ain't taking that in that type of regard. So I see that. I do think that certainly he could have certainly done more in that regard, depending upon how fast that could have got up, because when we brought our PPE, we didn't get it from New York State. We didn't get it from New York City. We went and bought our stuff from China. We bought our stuff. Now that's sad, but that's what we ultimately end up doing. We bought the PPP that we distribute at the church. We purchased, well, actually somebody, Carmela Mondello, purchased on our behalf and gave us all of our PPE. That's what we got it from. One of our members purchased that from a giant order from China. And what we got from New York State was the sanitizer that was made by prisoners.
But I don't think it's a matter that we didn't get enough. My concern is not that we didn't get enough PPEs and stuff like that. The issue I had was the way at one point he just said, we all take the mask off. I felt the back and forth, that caused more issues than anything else for me. It was just the inconsistency and even I didn't think we should all just take the mask off. Then the next thing is everybody's getting sick. We got to put the mask on. Everything should have been done gradually and make sure it worked. So I thought it was the misdirection we kept getting back and forth. That was more of a concern to me once we got the PPEs and all that.
And you know what? And watch this. I love what y'all saying. This is good because those of us that were wearing masks, we weren't complaining. We felt safe and we felt okay. It was those who thought it's against my right to wear a mask, and they were louder. I want you to see opposition is louder than support. That's what I mean, people that talk, I love to have people that brag on me, but I know people talk about me every Sunday. But I love to have somebody say, you know, my pastor is the best. And that's the point, to be able to argue with that. But Anna, you are absolutely right. And so he caved into the politics, even though the numbers did not say so. And the same thing happened in New York City with the current mayor, Mr. Adams, Eric Adams. Everybody talked about Kyrie, and Kyrie can be a challenge. Kyrie can do his own thing and say stuff that you don't like and all of this stuff, but it was easy to attack Kyrie. It wasn't easy to attack the Nets, the Knicks, the Mets and the Yankees. And when spring training came, that's when the policy changed. And that's what you see is an aspect of politics. And Joe Biden also played politics. So I love what you're saying. Don't play politics with our health. I love it. Elizabeth.
So I'm on the fence because I do have concerns about our presidency in terms of competencies and age. And I'm curious what people think in terms of, is there some, thought around what makes a president fit to serve? Mm-hmm. He is up there. That is a concern.
Too damn old.
Yeah, that's very, very fair. I tease him all the time. The president's old and he looks old. Trump is old and just boisterous and ornery. And so he looks like he's vigorous, but he's obese. And so, but the United States Senate is the oldest deliberative body in California right now. What's her name? Senator
Dianne Feinstein.
Dianne Feinstein is 90-something years old and still ain't decided where she's going to run for re-election now. It's ridiculous, but that's the system that we have had to be able to inherit, to go forth in there. So mine is, you just can't just look at him as the top of this thing. You want to look at it all. And in some aspects, these persons have kind of shown some mental lapses. And now, but again, also, let's be clear, he could be different, but yeah, the whole movie about her, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she should have stepped down. She didn't. And that's why we got Kavanaugh and the others, because of her. That's what happened. They don't want to step down. How many pastors served to the day they die? I ain't going to be one of them.
And that's a real concern because we don't have succession planning, not when it comes to this form of public service. So I think it does damage on both sides that we, don't have the term limits, but yet we don't also want to address, I feel like it's the 800-pound gorilla. Actually, who is running? Who's hitting some of those buttons? That's where I'm at. So I'm on the fence as far as Biden. And unfortunately, I'm tired of having to choose between the lesser of two evils. Yeah, I'll pass my time on to Rena.
I know it is, but I'm going to push back and say, and it's always going to be the lesser of two evils. It's never going to be two best options. It's never going to be that. And so now as we wrestle through that, so Biden therefore embraces, because when we look at this thing, his presidency was actually very successful, because the presidency is not just about the president. It's about the president's team that's able to execute the different things that president gets all the rewards and also gets all the blame in that regard. But yes, that health challenge is a real thing. And if we really want to talk about that, also Trump is old. Nancy Pelosi, let's be clear. She wasn't forced to step down. She stepped down on her own and still didn't resign her seat. She's still going to be in Congress. So I want us to see the way we have set this system up to reward those on a long-term basis. That's great, Liz. I love it. Arena, and then Floyd, then Fanta. Elder Floyd Mitchell.
So I think that some of the teasing about Biden's age that he's experiencing is really just rooted in bias. I don't think all of it's valid. I think that comes across the board where, depending on somebody's age, they could be teased for being mentally incompetent, or, when women are pregnant, sometimes they say they have pregnancy fog, brain fog, and now their mind isn't working because of their hormones. There's so many situations that can happen with an individual human, with an individual person, that could make them a target to be one of ridicule. I know Biden, he went through COVID-19, he came out of it. There are people younger than him in the country who didn't survive. COVID-19. So in terms of his health, that shows that he does have a strong health system, and he also has the people around him in the medical profession to support him in his health, just like he would in terms of his presidential team and making decisions. So I think a lot of this does come from ageism that he's experiencing that is biased. And of course, we know in the corporate world, it's illegal. You know, you go to HR for that, for teasing somebody because of their age and saying that they can't do their job because of their age.
It is interesting that you said it, and I love that, Arena. And I would, I challenge them, or I'll challenge our elected officials. And I know it's hard because again, it's not the law. But for example, a pilot now the pilot has age restrictions.
Right. And
a senator or a governor or a mayor can't. And and again, like these people that own their companies. So, but that's what I love to hit when we learn these things, to show how inconsistent we are. We're schizophrenic with all these things that we particularly do in that regard. That's great stuff. Elder Mitchell, glad you're joining us.
Yes, Doc. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'm always here with you. Interestingly, though, the question was raised about the age that you can continue to run for president. What I found out, though, the most important element in that position is the people that you choose to surround you. It is a fact that the president does not make all the decisions. The president does not put forward the best suggestions. The people that surrounds the president are the people that it's the most important element in holding that position as president. So even if the president runs and wins again, the people that surrounds him is the key factor. I want to go back a little bit, though. We were talking about the economy. And there are two things that I listen to the president over and over, and I approve of him running again. I approve that of his job polls, where on this site, 76% of us choose, or 86?
Yeah, 86 to 14.
86 approve of his job rating. And what I like, though, is how we emerged out of the COVID pandemic, how our economy rebounded. And that is something that much has to be accredited to his presidency, because he focused on it and he was intentional about it. And we noticed that the unemployment numbers have decreased. And so I really am excited to see what this president would bring forward tonight on his State of the Union address. And I'm going to be listening, and I'm seeing that we're doing what you call it, a
prebuttal.
A prebuttal. I'm waiting for the rebuttal at the conclusion of this. Thank you, Doc. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, man. Thank you for participating and for your presence. Sister Fanta.
I would just like to say that, first of all, there's only a 4-year age difference between Trump and Biden. And Trump is 76 and Biden is 80, right? I do believe that there should be an age limit on the presidentship and any leadership or any type of ship in there, because there is a difference in dying in something versus something living. And that's just my belief. But I also would like to point out that Donald Trump, this is my opinion, has plastic surgery work and dyeing of his hair that makes him look a little bit younger than Biden. Whereas Biden does not do any of that, and he maybe should. I don't.
Biden definitely be wearing makeup.
Well, yes, he wears makeup, but I'm talking about he doesn't dye his hair to not be gray or get Botox injection.
No, I hear that.
That's dust.
But and see what I'm saying, and what I love about our discussion here, at this particular aspect about age, is that ageism, somehow we think ageism is always about old age, but it can also be too young, because there is an age, I believe you have to be over the age of 35. So if you can bring age in the equation and say you have to be at least, then you also should be able to say, and no more than. Possibility for us to talk about. Somebody needs to be able to articulate this in this regard. Those are things that one would want to say. Good stuff. We got Brian.
Yes, I wanted to say that I agree with you. I don't know why elected officials just don't want to pass the torch. They stay in office for so long until they get sick or they die in office. You know, they just don't want to leave and pass the torch. And I look at Charlie Rangel. He left Congress in a wheelchair. They took him out of Congress. He could barely walk, but that's how long he stayed in. He stayed in office.
It's about power.
Yeah, they don't want to give it up. They don't want to pass that torch to someone young.
Absolutely. But and here's the scary part. See, if I'm going to critique this system, I'm saying that's what happened in churches. So let's be clear. I'm so glad my kids aren't interested in ministry. I want them to have a relationship with the Lord, and I want them to be able to come to church. But I'm glad they ain't the pastors, because we pass these churches to our children or our spouses after we done been in them for a mighty long time. And those are facts because of what you said, Brian, because of power and not wanting to let it go. And really, it's interesting for us to I mean, there's many things that we can critique, and you got to figure out what parts you're critiquing. But remember, George Washington volunteered to say 2 terms. He wasn't forced. George Washington could have had as many terms as he wanted, but he said he got to teach. I love it. He got to teach them how to say goodbye. And that's one of the great things in there. He never told a lie. He wore false teeth. No, the best thing about George Washington is at the peak of his power, he gave it up. That's something, because we don't do that. We stay in the power till we die. And so for us to just single out politicians without talking about preachers, our athletes. I mean, our movies, watching, what's her name? Barbara Walters. It's like, you could have left, you made more money, you could have left and gave somebody else. You didn't need to serve for another 10 years, Barbara Walters. Think about that when we watch local news. How long's Huff been there? They've been there like 30 years. So if they can stay 30 years, so can a politician.
Maybe they got bills to pay. I don't know.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
I'm saying that in sarcasm because it's a shame, because now you've made this a career and you got a cushion. Perhaps I don't know. The British seem to have a system, but that's also built on family power. As an aristocrat, that's not perfect either.
Right, Liz, you are absolutely right. They're doing it for the money and for the power. And what I'm saying is, then if somebody else could come in and get another opportunity, if you hog all the space, nobody else gets to do anything else. Andrea Mitchell. Let's think of, you've been covering this stuff it's these people. So now it's the same 50 to 60 people that's 70 and 80, they're covering it. So they're the same people. That's why it's hard to block it out in that regard. But I love, this is a very good, robust discussion. George. George, I think you're muted. I still think you're muted.
Can you? No, I don't.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a problem with Biden's age, because the thing was, you look at it, But Jim Claiborne told Biden how it was going to go. Biden got over it. I mean, Jim Claiborne told him certain things, how he could, and by point that back, just he kept his promise. So by him being around, you look at Nancy Pelosi, she's 82, Biden's 80, Mitch McConnell's 80. All these people been around. But you know, but like the new ones coming up. Jim Claiborne's going to have to, win in somebody. Like Hakeem is there, Hakeem Jeffries. So we're making progress, but it's still going to take some time. So we just got to still, as you say, Pastor, wrestle with this. We'll get up there.
Okay.
We'll get there. We just got to hold on.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna do George and then Chris, and then I'm gonna leave direction of the country to going to ranking our concerns to talk about what our concerns say, what we're dealing with. Okay, Gary.
All right, I just want to throw this question out there. If Joe Biden is too old, is Kamala Harris too young? Personally, I don't think so. I'm just curious, what would the issue be if Kamala Harris running?
She's a black woman.
Well, other than that, yeah.
No, I'm just saying because they're attacking her. That's the problem. Now, ask my girl. I just don't want her to dress like a Romulan. But other than that, those shoulders. Yeah, I know that she does. I like, come on, lady. You're a beautiful woman and you're smart. You ain't got to do that stuff. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get rid of them shoulder pads. Get rid of them shoulder pads.
The opinions.
Please do. That's it. What I'm just saying. Somebody. That's what I'm saying. Somebody needs to tell her that.
At least she doesn't have the pointy ears on.
You know what I'm saying?
The disclaimer, Pastor Lacey. The disclaimer.
Okay, get my disclaimer. The views expressed here are only the views of the participants and not of that of the Bethany Baptist Church.
And what not to wear.
And what not to wear. Yeah, absolutely. Because some people could tell me what to wear. Like, people, I love my bow tie, but people hate my bow tie because it's always crooked. But it's amazing. They can come up and tell me how bad my crooked bow tie is, but can't tell me one point in my sermon. That's interesting. See, there's a point in that. But yes, but I don't think age really ain't been used. The last time age was used in that way, Gary, and you would know, was when President Ronald Reagan said he wouldn't use it against from Minnesota, right?
Walter Mondale. He wouldn't use his youthful and experience in that regard. But typically it's not. It's typically being older in that regard. But now all I was just bringing out is that it is there. And there's nothing wrong for being there. And also, again, as we said on the Supreme Court, these people are appointed for life. And really, ultimately, as I forgot who said it, somebody said it in our group, that really it ain't really them. It's a whole team of people that they have selected that actually want to do it. And sometimes those people just want to continue to stay in power. President is not by himself or herself or a senator or a governor. It's a group of people that's in there. But I love this conversation about age, particularly when we're in an age church. And some people in our church are 85 and they move like they're 85. Some people in our church are 85 and they move like they're 65. It depends upon who the person is and what they're able to do, in a real sense. And some people are 65 and look like they're 95.
But Kamala is 58, which explains her shoulder pads.
Yeah, but I told her no, she's a Romulan. She got to stop that. She got to join Starfleet. So watch this. So let's just take a transition here. We've been going for an hour, but let's look at these issues. So we looked at him, and for the most part, have an 86% approval. But now let's see, does his approval match our concerns and what he says about this? Now, we had a good debate, myself and my team, Fanta and Justin and Lily, on the number one, which is police reform. But police reform is different from violence. So the point is they do go hand in hand, but they're different. And so one of the things I like that Al Sharpton brings up best is we shouldn't have to run from cops and robbers. And that's what I'm saying. One is for robbers, that's the violent crime. Police reform is for these police. And then seeing in light of the Tyree Nichols case, and it's always been cases like that. It's always going to be those. And so we kind of want, I would love to see him say something about it. Now, he got the family there. And so what some people have said, did Memphis act so fast because they were Black police officers? And then it took, and Fanta was the one that said this, and others, how it took almost another 8 days before they named the white person. I'm like, what took so long that this white person was there with the taser? Those are real issues. And so we really do believe that police reform needs to be in there. But when we're talking about that, it's a political issue because some believe that the reform went too far with bail reform. That's what, they're blaming some of these challenges that we're facing, this uptick in crime, is because we just ain't locking people up longer. Let's react to this first one. This is the number one issue that we identified.
You're talking about bail reform?
Yeah, no, I didn't say that. On the sheet is police reform. However, all of that, it can be, because it's so expansive, we can tap into bail reform, police reform, and violent crime and all of that. Minister Young, though, went first.
So in full transparency, this one was one of my top choices for this question. But I didn't see specifically like gun violence and gun policy, which was what I was really after. So I chose this one because it was the closest to gun policy and gun laws. But I think for me, that one is even higher than just general violence and then police reform. The only reason is because we're at a place where, gun policy and gun reform is no longer just a governmental issue. It's largely driven by large corporations, and it's both a capitalist and democratic issue before us, but also because things like police reform and crime happen at the intersection of other disparities, like, the economy, for instance. And so for me, that one is really about gun violence. And I wonder, am I alone in that one, or was that something others were thinking about as well?
And I'll let some others chime in. I apologize. The grid would not let us, we had to limit it to 10 because gun violence is certainly one of those. Gun violence is in there. And then I could have put COVID. So I was looking at the Real Clear Politics issues of what people voted in the 22, what they said in the 22 election midterms. And the last one was COVID, but gun violence was up in the middle. And I didn't do it. And that was just me deciding, let me put police reform over against gun violence in there. But so no, that's a very good catch right there for you to say. And in that regard, because we do have the gun violence, and the gun violence takes place sometimes with the violent crime, is how I ended up getting in there. Mm-hmm. The other piece I would add to that powerful question when you said about the gun violence that takes place in America with, again, there are more guns in America than people. We make the Second Amendment sacrosanct, except for, Black people, because Black people can illegally carry a firearm and still be killed. They don't, just because you legally can carry it doesn't change it. And fun fact for Black History Month, the first substantial gun reform bill that ever existed took place in California underneath Ronald Wilson Reagan when he was the governor, because the Black Panther Party marched on the state capitol with guns. Okay, that was the first time in modern history where gun rights were restricted, as now they keep on expanding. See, right now, think about this. We can keep, oh my God, this is good. God, we keep trying to restrict voting rights, but we're trying to expand gun rights. And that's think about that. Gun rights continue to get expanded, and voting rights and reproductive rights continue to shrink and shrink. That's scary. That's scary. And that lets us know when you're playing the politics of this process there. But thank you, Nehemiah. That's Minister Young. That was very good. Very good. Anyone else with the police reform? Is your hand up? I can't see from your. No, so nobody's hands up. We're good with police reform?
I was a little curious. What was the poll number again for that as being their number one?
It was what he put in, not the percentage, but it was number one, 16 people. Number 14 is the economy.
Copy.
So our next one we'll move to is the economy. So what we would like to hear is the president, and since Tyree Nichols' family is there, one would expect he would be able to say something. And to say something is about, again, the accountability of the police. But watch him nuance it and talk about the predatory crime. He's going to try to do both ends. That's what he's going to try to do. And that's, as soon as you say it, it's like, but. Like me having an argument, like, I'm late, but you late too. But then the next one is our economy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did have one.
No, I'm sorry, Fanta, go ahead.
I also find that it's very curious that despite recent efforts to at least petition for domestic violence and blocking those, that was turned down by the federal government in stating that when the laws for gun rights were put on books, it had nothing to do with domestic violence, when a lot of people die from guns and domestic violence.
Oh, absolutely. No, they design it that way. And that goes back to Minister Young's point, because, the CD, and Liz can chime in with this as well, the CDC, who looks at diseases and causes of health and gives you the numbers of COVID, they're not allowed to study gun violence. They're prohibited by law. So we want to hide our faces in the sand, then admit that we actually we have a gun problem, not a violence problem. We had a gun problem.
You are 100% correct in that, and which is why it's interesting, because other health professional associations are declaring that gun violence is a public health issue. It absolutely is. So that's, again, kind of going back to Minister Young pieces, to her statement, it has to be held right in tension with what's killing our communities and how those policies for not addressing them are impacting our health.
That's correct. And when we looked at nicotine or menthol or alcohol, and we could be able to rally and then be able to, again, what they were able to do, we should be able to do the same thing that was done to Philip Morris and RJR Tobacco with Cobra and Clock and all of those companies that own these weapons, and make them accountable. But they have immunity. Not only do the police officers have qualified immunity, the gun manufacturers have immunity that you can't do so. But guess what happened? If you got a Peloton, which I have, and I got a little girl over here in Peloton, and I should know how to keep her away from my Peloton. But if she hopped on my Peloton and got hurt, I get to sue Peloton. Really? But if the little girl, same little girl, took the gun and shot herself or somebody else, I cannot sue the gun owner. Come on, y'all. Tell me I ain't dropping facts.
But now, you know, we are admitting that there is a gun problem in our community. Many handguns are just flowing through the community like crazy. But why are people fighting so hard against stop and frisk? I know it's been abused, but
Well,
I know a lot of cops that tell me that it's a very, very vital tool if used properly, if done properly.
Well, that's what it is right there, is that there are too many times when we haven't never addressed how it's certainly been abused. And that's the problem. So even the mayor says, well, if it's done right, but why is it not done right? That's the point. How often it ends that is not done right. And what I argue for police, and I argue what our government say is, again, TSA got to get it right all the time, not some of the time. And some of you all have went through security and you had water in there and they didn't catch it, but they still kept their job. They still kept their job. But the moment that it is found out, like if we were doing a overall test to say that, you know, what gets through and what doesn't get through, and you can prove that these people have not necessarily paid full attention, then they pay the price. As opposed to me, just the person, whether I'm trying to smuggle something in or just paying not attention. What I am saying in this whole thing, Brian, is that the police have the overwhelming responsibility first, not the person being stopped and frisked. It is the police officer frisking because the police officer is the person in charge. And it's something about the police culture that does not allow them to want to be challenged in any type of way. Hence, particularly because of Black bodies. Hence, white people do not get to talk. White people do not get to talk. But if you got a son or daughter that's driving, you give them the talk on how to respond. Why do we got to give a talk to our children of how to respond to police, and ain't nobody giving a damn talk to the police of how to respond to our children? That's what I say to, and those are my police officers. And if you know those correction officers, you know something about them too. They never go nowhere without their gun. They have their gun everywhere. All the time. It's part of, so a whole lot of that, the good and the bad, is part of that culture. And that's why we're seeing what's taking place in Memphis is really not just the aspect of 5 bad actors, but now you're seeing a whole thing of 9 and 10 other actors, even getting down to the EMT people from the fire department that just waited another 16 minutes. And then those who are lying on the reports. That's the same thing that happened in Kentucky with Breonna Taylor. You know, the same thing. You know, you lied on the warrant, you recognized that you were wrong, and then you changed it. So we see these things taking place, but when we call attention to it, like, well, no, those are abnormal. Well, they're acting like every Black boy, even if you have a weapon, you're going to use it for destructive aspects. So that's typically why I hear you. It ain't all of them, but it's time for good police officers to be able to stand up. That's what I tell them. They got to be able to stand up. And if anyone talked to you, if you talk to a real good police officer, they would talk back in the day when they had a throwaway gun. That's why those guys were lying on that tape, trying to say something that wasn't true. They know how to rehearse to say this thing. And it just ain't Memphis, it's nationwide. But it ain't nationwide. It only deals with Black boys and Black women, Black boys and Black girls, because somehow we're considered to be more dangerous. Because you can talk a white person down who killed 30 people, and yet a Black person pulled over a traffic stop loses their life. Those are facts. And that's our challenge in that regard. Back with Deacon.
Okay, well, I'll say real quick until Deacon Beckwood answers. I think in New York City, it's a policy with the police department. If a cop is convicted of shooting an unarmed person or whatever, they have a few hours to get their act together before they can release a statement. Isn't that correct?
No,
I think it's something with the union where they're protected.
What time? A few days.
Few days. I said hours, a few days.
Hours. I think they got 3 days.
Yeah, right.
Which is crazy. Like
before their statement goes on record. Yeah.
Right. So now they're able to fine tune and they try to get everything to line up with the. If you, I mean, come on, y'all. You in a fight with your spouse, you want to know what she know first or what he know first before you say so. Come on, people. And so that's what they let the prosecutor, they want to say the prosecutor I got 3 days to be able to respond. And then when I respond, I got a union rep and an attorney. Wow. Over against me. And the first thing they do is link my record to say that I've been arrested before, all these things. Watch, and they never did this about these police officers. It is racist on what they're doing with these Black police officers. You ain't never seen it happen so fast, and facts dropped in there. The story about them being part of Omega Sci-Fi and hazing. You see all of this stuff came out just like that. It can always happen. You don't know nothing about Chauvin. You don't know where Chauvin lived. You know, Chauvin's the one that killed Eric Garner.
George Floyd.
George
Floyd. Daniel Pantaleo. I'm thinking about in New York, when New York didn't do anything. New York with our Black attorneys and our district attorney. I think Ken Thompson was still in office underneath. Was Ken Thompson still there? It was in Staten Island, so technically it's not his jurisdiction. But nonetheless, we had Black people in power when Eric Garner died, and nothing happened. Nothing happened at all, except for what we wanted to happen, what took 6 years later, fire him. That's what Memphis got right. Fire him. And now let the police come back and fire to get back their jobs. That's what Ronald Reagan did with the air traffic controllers. He fired them. They got rehired and got back in there, but that's what I told Mayor de Blasio. That's why we never got along. He had the authority to fire Daniel Pantaleo, and he chose not to. And Loretta Lynch participated in the same thing. Okay, I know y'all love them all, but they still didn't do that. Hindsight is 2020. You feel good. We were doing that. I'm in the meetings, and they're saying they can't do nothing. We can't bring forth charges until after this stuff happens. Blank, 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 blank. But look what Memphis did. Now their attorneys are going to come forth. They can get some good attorneys and say they were not given due process. Blank, blank. Let that happen. How about, and you know what I argue? And I'm going to you back with, I'm sorry. And what I argue, do you know how many settlements New York City and these other cities pay to these police abuse cases? I'd rather us, after all, be able to pay it after firing this police officer and then putting them on a register so you can't go to Nassau County or Westchester County or Fairfield County. Okay, Deacon Beckwood, I'm sorry.
Okay, yes. There was two things actually. The first one was going back to where the stop and frisk. A lot of the things where it was such a pushback with that back in the time, but of course that was when it was 100% illegal to be in possession of weed, because a lot of times those stop and frisk, these cats had weed on them. So, they can't get the weed on them. They're going to get busted for that. And then they're going to find out all these other things going on. Since weed is legal, now, for the most part now, can't necessarily do that.
Right. But I love what you said in there. And let me hit everybody about, again, I want to say this often. This process was certainly led by community organizers, but by those in office. Eric Gonzalez, our DA, and other DAs throughout New York City area told the police officers, if you bring people in for low levels of weed without any other issue or no violence attached to them, We're not charging them. They led that. And then as a result, the law was passed. But all I was saying is that you can choose what to enforce and what not to enforce. And that's what I want us to see. This is scary for us to see, even with the stop and frisk. Yes, that takes place, but most of these high profile crimes take place with a vehicular stop. Now, typically, yes, sometimes the person had ran. And so we said all they had to do was stay there. Okay, that's true. But guess what? If you run from your vehicle, what do I have? I got your vehicle. I got your address. I got your name. I'm going to come get you tomorrow. But the point is, I believe ego gets involved in it. How dare you run from me? And they get all angry because they're never attacking. They're running and lose their life. That's scary.
You're correct. I agree.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And that's what I want us. I mean, so I would love for that piece. Last point on this issue, still dealing with police reform. And I know as a pastor, and my members have taught me well, I have more power when I'm not bossy and yelling. My people receive me more. Like, pastor, you got to de-escalate. It ain't good to see you raise your voice with other people. Police officers need to engage in de-escalation. But when police come, they escalate it. It's like it take it up another notch. You got a gun, you got the badge of the law behind you. Calm down. That's the point. Unless your life is being threatened. And that's what they always lie. Again, Tamir Rice was 9 years old, and he said he would look like a grown man. So we leave police reform, and then we looked at the economy. And what I'll say with the economy as we get 825 is, I mean, look what we have a great discussion. We just move our way and we never finish. But inflation is being a culprit because these oil companies, these grocery stores, all of them are making record profits, but yet they're saying that it's inflation and they're passing on these high prices to the consumer. And so what I would like for the president to talk about, yes, you know, what he sought to do with adding more jobs and the lowering the what's the name, but he needs to hold corporate greed accountable over against us just talking about inflation. No, inflation is real, but it's not as real as corporate profits. They're making major money. The money that they got back, even with the air, think about this. The airlines have been able to, and they do this over and over again. You guys are aware that since 9/11, they do a 9/11 surcharge tax on your airline flight. And now they got a little COVID thing that now they charge you a little bit. So when you can turn around, you got all of these extra fees. And then they turn around and make you want to pay for your baggage after they got a handout for the government. That's what these companies are doing. And I dare you take a look at your menus sometime too. Because I went to some place and on my menu and it says, there is a 2% COVID charge because to help with our, I'm like, really? And this place is packed and you still charging, you still getting money. And that's how people are taking advantage of it. That's what I'm wanting to say. Because you and I know, like, before all this stuff, you could check all your bags, and then they won't. And then you hop on the airline, and you gotta have. They don't even have a TV there for you. You gotta hook up your own device. You gotta buy that. You can't bring no liquid. You gotta buy the $4 water and all that other. I want y'all to just see all of this, and yet claim broke. And they claim broke in real time, which is a lie. Because they buy their fuel 6 and 7 months in advance. Its price is already locked in. And they get discount. And then our government is paying for that. Those are the things. Same thing with these farming industries, with cheese, with corn, with all of these things. They're getting these. You ought to think about the things that are the worst for us are subsidized by the government. to keep pushing it to us. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. So then we move from the economy to election policies. That was 13, because obviously we still thank God that Raphael Warnock was able to pull out that election, but we were able to see in Georgia these little fake policies. You know, somebody really say, why do I have to show? Let's talk about in our last few minutes in just this piece right here. Why is it important to show ID when you're voting? Why are they making that a big deal, or why is it should not be a big deal?
Just want to harass voters. That's all.
They want to harass voters.
Harassment. Make it harder for Black people to vote.
Right. That's really what it is. Minister Young?
I was going to say that, yeah, of course, they want to make it harder for Black folks to vote and people of color to vote, but also they want to be able to make money off your data.
Absolutely. And what happened was that there was a book called What's the Matter with Kansas? It's a thing called Crosscheck. And Crosscheck that some of these state secretaries of states purchased for their electorates were able to use this software to run names, and was able to kick names off of a database and people that can't vote or say it was fake. So for example, if Crosscheck was used here, they would try to kick me and or Matthew off of our list, because the way they designed Crosscheck, it never had a middle initial. So what they will argue is that Adolphus Lacey has two addresses. He is in Brooklyn and he is in New York City. And he's in Brooklyn and he's in Westchester. And they were kicking it off. And you had to go back and prove that you were you, not them. That's literally what happened, kicking hundreds of thousands of names off the roll. They then moved election booths, election places, further and further away, that it made it harder for you to go. And that's what I said before. Again, it's about trying to make voting easy, not voting harder. And so when you think about those things, we won despite that. So since the Voting Acts right of 1965, and then it implemented in 1968, there every time since then, it's always been bills to repeal the right of people to be able to vote. And so that election policy is reformed. The John Lewis bill is important to be able to nationalize these elections, because these elections are different state elections, and each state does their own little thing, and each county does it. And so we just think about that when you can't wait till you get to the general election in 2024 and now think about it. It's something we ought to be thinking about even now. So it's 8:32. Look at us. We made our way through. I was going to talk about the balloon, but we'll talk about the balloon later. We'll see if he mentions the balloon. That came across. But again, see if these again, our top issues in the Bethany experience: police reform, our economy, election policies, the future of democracy, and healthcare. Let's see if the president begins to talk about those things and what he says about that. And we'll come back in and see. And that's how we hold people accountable about what's most important to us. But I will say to you, lastly, is that, again, police reform still happens on most of a local level. It happens on a local level. So the president can say all he wants to, unless he gets the George Floyd bill and Policing Act enforced to give them authority, because again, underneath Barack Obama and Eric Holder, they did these consent decrees where they came in and audited these police departments, and the police departments worked with them. Once Trump came in, he got rid of them. So now Joseph Biden just can't go back in and do it. He needs a predicate. He needs a reason to go in and do it. So that's what I want to say. Well, he ain't did it. Well, you just can't go in and do it. If there's a problem or there's a complaint, then you get to revisit it. Okie doke. All right, thank you all. Deacon Snyder, can you close us in prayer?
Let us look to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to assemble ourselves here. Thank you for the insight that our pastor has given and all the other participants. Go with us, guide us, and direct us. Bless each home that's represented here. Bless our pastor and all the ministerials and officers of our church. Bless and keep each and every one of us. Guide and direct us, strengthen us. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all. So let's enjoy that. And those who still, we love politics. If you want to engage in your calling and purpose, we're exploring in the Bible tomorrow, Romans chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter, and Romans chapter 12, the investment chapter. Bless you.
Good night, everyone. Enjoy your president.
All right, good night.
That's
That
funny.
was cute.
Whoa.
That's funny.
Good night, everybody.
That was good.
Good night,
Good
Fanta.
night.
Good
night.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night all.
Good night, Fanta.